Righty, let's get this stream going. Just realised my camera, I know why my camera is looking like it's pointing down a little bit. It's because I've lifted my chair up. There's a reason for that, which you'll find out shortly. Anyway, wait for a few people to turn up and we'll get rolling with this. We'll jump into the quad view when it's appropriate. But we have a 165 board that we're working, well, as far as we know, it's working from the other night. And we just simply are taking values from it. So we've got the FlexBoardView coupled up now with OpenBoardData. And the OpenBoardData database is, for the most part, empty on most boards. So we're going to start populating the values. And I've managed to couple my multimeter with a three switch foot switch, and hopefully this will actually work. So let's see if we can get into it. We're going to go into the quad display. That probably work best. Yep, good enough. Except I just realised now, as soon as I swing the meter out, it's going to switch back to meter. Alright, quad display. There we go. Travis, I'll drop that in later. Also note that, now let's, I've got the positive cable. We're obviously going to be doing diode mode values. Got this plugged into the USB port, just using one of those clips and a banana plug soldered onto a generic USB port insert. And that will make it much easier, so I've only got to just move one thing around. You can see it's just, that's all it is. It's a nice bodge job, and it does the trick. Okie dokie. Whoop, that nearly fell out. That would have been hilariously good. I'll show you the FlexBoard view actually in full display. Schematic. Alright, so we've got the 165, which is what this board is, and we're just going to go to the full view here, and we're just going to say start on, well, we can start on the keyboard connector, and we go edit the data, and we start the multimeter capture, and you can see here the values already running. Now I am currently in voltage mode, so I've got to switch to diode mode, and as you can see it's just showing up open circuit. Now down on the floor I've got my foot switch, and I'm going to use that to punch in the value when it's ready. Okay, let's get a quad display and see how this goes. It's going to feel actually a little bit strange because I've only got the one bit to press. Okay, so we've got the keyboard connector here. I will probably get a cramp in my foot though because I'm holding it back. Alright, so now we start out. Okay, you probably can't quite see it, but I've clicked on SMC lid and it's on that first pin there, so it's showing me which pin I've got to be probing, and this should, damn, focus is always a little bit funky. Okay, and as you can see we are reading the value pretty close, 0.71. Anyway, we'll go punch that in, and that's in, and it's moved to the next one, 536, punch that in. Okay, ground is obviously ground, punch that in, it's not going to matter anyway. We'll punch that in. I can actually skip the ground if I want, but there's not much point. Trackpad wake low, that's interesting. That's actually been pulled down. And I think it's deliberate, in all honesty. Let's see, 11, see, okay, 12. I could probably do this quicker, but I'm double checking everything as I do it. I could almost do this blind if I wanted. Why is G3 hot not listed? 3127 SMC on FL. Okay, that's it. That's all punched in. And you can see over here that all the values are ready to go. So we'll close that, send them off to the server. And that's it, they're all loaded up there now. Now what you will find is after a while you'll get more and more values just colliding on the connectors, in the sense of as you add values to nets, because it applies to every point on the board that has that same net, hence why it's why we do this, then you have less and less values to actually punch in. Probably should see how in need of populating this one is. Okay, now because this is a two-sided part, we can switch to odds and evens, and that makes it easier for us to follow. Okay, so we've got most of them already actually. What's this one? Yeah. Kind of don't want to have to. Let's see. See, now I'm getting picky and lazy about what I want to do. Alright. Oh, here we go. We should try this one. Odds and evens. The only thing I wish I could do is move the board around once I've got the dialogue up, but unfortunately I can't. Hey Daniel Gavani, Flying Sky, well hello everybody that's turning up. Okay, so what's this one? Okay, so that's that pin up there. It's on this connector here. Maybe I should learn to use the tab so I don't have to. So pin 3. So 1, 2, 3. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's ground, and so whoa, we don't want to press that on the ground. I should hit the skip. There we go. That's it. I'm still getting used to the foot pedal thingy. 0.33. Skip. There's not a lot of good feel here with the foot pedal. It's not really very confidence inspiring. I mean, admittingly, it's better than most things. Looks like these are all about 0.33 anyway. Unconnected, that should be OLs. Yep, so that comes up as an OL. Interesting, that's a ground, is it? Yep, it is. TDO. Okay, obviously that's ground, ground, ground. And now we're back to the bottom start down here. That's unusual. Don't very often get a diode value that high. It's kind of weird. I'll have to look at that one later. Yeah, 1 VSO, that's already done, so we can skip that. Yeah, I lost my momentum then. What? Okay, so we had a mistake there. Something went wrong. So I actually can go back and try that again. There we go. That's interesting that XTP CPU tick or whatever it is close to 0. Alright, so anyway, that's another bunch done. That's quite a few there. Submit them to the queue. Pretend that you're welding using a foot pedal, yeah, something like that, eh? It's what do you call it? Spot welding. That's it. Alright, so now if I go to board and preferences, so we've put in about another 50 all up. Maybe not quite that many. But there's certainly a lot more values in there now. Admittingly, they're just on diode values. Now, what I can also do is if there's a value that you want to make comments on, so like, let's say PV bus G3 hot, at that. We can leave a comment here. Looks like I already have. Yep, we already have. Already beat myself to it. Alright, close. What about LCD backlight? There we go. Ach, nee, man. So what do we normally have? Let's see. 0 volt, check fuse. 8 volt, check feedback. 50 volt, check screen. 25 volt, normal. Okay. Close, send that up too. Alright. Alright, so if, what's that? What does it say? So I guess really, once we've done all the connectors, that's kind of like the easy sort of bulk things to do. Beyond that, you start regressing to having to do the chips. Let's look at U7100 since a lot of us do work on that. And you can already see most of the values have already turned up, and a lot of that is because we already put it in other places. But let's see, pin 18 hasn't been done. And let's see, so let's do that one. Mind you, in these scenarios, it's often not worth doing the foot pedal thing because you're only doing the one-off, so you can just manually punch it in. That's this one here. Let's see, 0.14, foot pedal it anyway, 0.15. What else? Pin 28. Oh, you can't see it. Sorry. The nice thing is that when you pick whatever pin it is, it will show it up on here for you. Okay, so pin 28, that's that one there. 615, and we're in. Submit. Gavani, the way with the preventing people loading dud values is it is a statistical sort of sum averaging, but more importantly, everybody only gets one vote, one value vote. So even if you load up 1,000 submissions, you're only going to get that one vote because it is restricted by the license code. So unless you've got a license, unless you've got like 1,000 license codes and they're all valid license codes, you're not going to be able to submit multiple values. So it's one value per license code only. And that way it sort of stops people abusing the system too much. Now it's going to be a little bit trickier when we get to the broader release to every, as in the general public, such as OpenBoardView and things like that. But for that, I think what we'll have is we'll have to have people submit a request to participate in it, and it'll just be an automated system, and then they'll be through their email address and so on and so forth. So we're basically restricting who can put the data in. Now, ideally, it'd be nice if anybody could put anything in without having to even sign up or anything like that. But I think realistically, that's just going to lead to genuine abuse situations. There's enough cretins out there who really just want to mess with good things. So this hopefully should keep that down. The other nice thing is if people do abuse it with their license codes or whatever, then I can just cull all of their data in one fell swoop. So we do have the option of redacting whatever they've tried to submit. Pedro, come on, people. A few people who would love to make a train wreck of this sort of work. Competitors as well. Other people who don't want to, if FlexBoardView takes a sale away from them, then, they try and do it. Okay, I'm going to do the BIOS chip. So BIOS chip has a few not done. Okay, so pin 1, pin 2, I'm getting the hang of this and I'm liking it now. Pin 3, pin 4 is obviously going to be ground. Pin 5. I like the fact that it's guiding me because I'm pretty stupid. Okay, they're all in. Now, for those of you who have been following along and using the alpha software, if you load up a 165 board right now, you will get all these values and have a look at them. Mike seems interesting. I was looking over the options that were available, and in the end, a plain old simple average is works out the best in most cases. I could do a mean, and then I could also do like a 10% cut either side to try and cull off outliers. But at the end of the day, just doing just an average seems to work fine. Alright, what else can we hit up on this? Ultimately, you sort of got to do all of them. Well, okay, maybe not all of them, but ultimately you end up doing quite a few of these. The SMC would be a good one to do, but unfortunately you want to be able to measure it while it's in circuit. So you can't really... You could go for all these test points, but that probably had to be done manually. Gavani, yes, we are using a known working board, and that will become one of the references. And obviously, if someone else submits their working board, then that will produce a different reference. There's a couple of factors involved. Obviously, even though they're all 165s or any particular number board, there will be different CPU values, CPU sizes, RAM sizes amongst those boards. That reminds me, that is one thing I wanted to do. Let's see, what is this? This is a 1.64 gig. Okay. And I want to measure the resistance on this. Because you want to measure resistance on the CPU because it's too low for, what do you call it? It's too low for diode mode. So what's this one? Like Storm. Okay, so this is 35 ohms, 35, 36. That one should actually be about, it's slightly different. That's actually unusual. It's varying, probably because there's I might have to flip my leads around and do it properly for resistance rather than the reverse. And do it from here. So 24/7. Yeah, so we're just going to call it 25, okay? 25 ohms. And the note for this will be at 1.6. Hi Darius, welcome. Yeah, Ben, that's the other factor, stuff meters that aren't calibrated, or cheap meters, or leads that are different. There's so many different factors, but if we can sort of get an idea, then it's a good start. And certainly I think if I work on the comments a fair bit, like leaving in that, okay, for different CPUs, you're going to have different resistance values on these points here. Just need to do the same for the other one. Right. Storm, I don't get any real international sales, but that is jobs in general, but that is deliberate. Because there's often a few more complications than you want when it comes to international stuff. Okay, let's go for, damn it. Now I'm going to have to do it two-handed here. Oh, well. 0.6. And reset. I got a bug down there. Okay. Yeah, Mike, that's the big problem, isn't it? It's always a case of the postage service is going to be your biggest nightmare. Okay. Now, one thing also to note is if you put all that hard work in, you submit your values, and then something goes wrong, I do have an archive. So if I go, let's see, so. And it keeps a log of all the stuff that you submitted, and that's on a per board situation. So so this is only for the 165 board. If I do the 3437, it'll have a different log file. But it's nice to have that there just in case something goes wrong and you've got to resubmit. Let's see, do I fix boards all day long or just while streaming? I do fix boards during the day. It depends on my mood. Sometimes I'll defer board repairs until the evening where it's quieter, and during the day I'm doing things like iPhones, programming, PC fixing, things like that, and then switch on to the boards at night. Let's do... What else can we do? Let's do a couple more, and then I think we'll be done. I was only meant to just do this to demonstrate, but I'm sort of getting into the flow of things a bit. Yeah, Bridge, I have thought about doing that sort of thing, but of course I don't have that gear. Interesting. That's actually, while there's no battery connector, that's actually classified as open. Fair enough. Sys detect. Also open. Okay, that'll be because it needs the battery. I should probably do those. How would I do that? You can't really do them with the battery plugged in because they'll mess with the values. Oh well. Oh wow, I've got nothing on that. Let's see. Interesting. And obviously unconnected, you don't bother with. Hey, Crazy Joe. Alright, now is this a... that's a mini... let's do the JTAG. Since Lewis doesn't like the JTAG, we'll do that one. Give it some credibility, as it were. Pin 3? Yep. Need to be in odds and evens. Go 5. I'm just skipping over all the ones that I don't need to do. That's everything populated. Not repealing the J tag. Anyway, we've probed it and it's happy. Okay. There's no need for any sort of offensive behavior. Sometimes it's easier to use these pinouts rather than trying to count how many are on there. Really? That's open? Okay. Okay, yeah, I can understand why they're open, because they've got they're capacitively linked. Alright. So why the gloves? The gloves are because you just don't know what sort of trash you're dealing with when it comes to machines. Now in this case, okay, fine, I've cleaned this machine and stuff. But as a habit, it's a good idea. Plus, also, there's always the flux issues. You don't really want to have flux sitting on your hands. I mean, it's not the worst, but if there's no need for it, then there's no point. What's my education? I do have tertiary education, though I sort of only did 4.5 years of that before I quit. I probably could have persisted, but I ran off to do things, entertaining things, and then I ran off to Africa. So, yeah. Alright, we're doing the 342 regulator here. So, okay, skip that one. 3, 4. Skip the ground. Okay. Firkin. Alrighty. Well, obviously that's not everything done on this board. I just realised I've knocked a cap off there. That's not going to affect anything though. And there are going to be values that people may send me and say, look, that doesn't quite match up with what it should. So, can you amend that value or change it? And, that's no problem at all. This probably wasn't the best board to use, but it's not the worst. This one here gives me a nightmare at the best of times, so I think I will set that data in. Oh yeah, there's a lot of values there that I don't have. So let's go for this. At least it's got the test pads around it. It'll make it a little bit easier. And some of them not so easy. Okay, unconnected is unconnected. Just sort of double checking myself there. Oh wow, we had all the way back to here. Ah, right, that's already done, yep, okay. I was wondering what was going on then. If I trust in the multimeter data that's been sent, then I can sort of just do this really quick. Okay, that, it's unconnected, that's why I can't get a reading on it. Unconnected. This foot thing is, I almost need to actually have it that I have a left foot and a right foot one. Okay, 25 is over there. Up there. That's it, we're done. I'm trying to think, I should actually make it that I consolidate the uploading of those data values. Pardon me, right now it's just simply for every submission I make, actually individual submission, it sets up a whole session with the server, sends the data, shuts down the session. So that's why there's a bit of a delay when sending a fair bit. It would be sensible for me to do everything all in one session. But, you know, these are the things you improve later in your software. The main thing is initially is to get it to actually provide some functionality, because as humans, or as myself rather, I find I'm driven a lot better if I can achieve certain milestones, like get the data to display on the screen, and then get the communications to the server, and then get the capture of the multimeter stuff. But if you try to make the ultimate product, the final product, up front all at once, you usually become disillusioned by how much work you've got to do before you even get to see if you've achieved anything. So I like to have these small steps, which does mean that when people from the outside are looking in, they'll sort of go, well, why haven't you done this? You know, why did you do it without doing that and stuff? And the point is that, well, yeah, that might be where I'm heading ultimately, but in order to get there, I have to do these steps first. So when you have people critiquing your software, when you're in this sort of development alpha phase, it pays to ignore people a lot, because they don't understand where you are in the process, and maybe it's easy for people to sit there and go, well, I can think of the I can think of the end product really easily. Why can't you? I was like, yeah, I mean, we can think of it, but can you actually do it in one step? And chances are you can't. Any more than, say, SpaceX can get to Mars in one shot. Yeah, what are we up to? SN15 now, so yeah, it's little bits at a time. Surging circuits, yes, eat an elephant one bite at a time. That is the way it is done. Yes, and you have to have your small victories, indeed. All right then. Well, I think that. Oh, Mark, you're missing all the good fun. Now that Mark's here, I'm going to have to do something else. Well, maybe we'll switch to another board, huh? We've done enough of the 165 for the moment. Let's find another board that we haven't done off. So we'll disconnect that. I'm trying to think, what board can I do? Well, I suppose the real test is what board do I have that I know is functional. That's the important thing. I'm going to go into the other room and find a functioning board of some sort. How lame. It would appear I've been reduced to a 3437, so really we're going to look like we're repeating very much the same thing. Now, in many ways, I'm probably inclined to actually copy the entire data set from the 165 to a 3437 because they are so very similar, but then, you know, maybe I'm just sort of like kidding myself here. See, Tony W. Did you choose where to house the server and database, or is it something you'd rather? I already have a long-term service provider for that sort of thing, so yeah, and I've got no inclination to change at this point because updating all of the DNS records and stuff, that would just be, it's not something I want to do in a hurry. No sir. Alright, let's go for the first things. So we have to load up the 3437. Somewhere, there we go, 3437. Kidding? I've got nothing in 3437? I'm disappointed in myself. Wow. Alright then. Looks like we're going to be starting from scratch. Okay, let's do the JTAG. Now this is a odds and evens one. Get my foot in the right spot. Yep. That's obviously a ground. Is that right? No, no, I've watched up there. Back up. Let's see. Okay. What happened there is I jumped the ground on the screen, but I didn't jump it on the connector. So this is actually what we're supposed to have. 0.54, 0.54. Surprise, frickin' surprise, 0.54. Things like SMC lines are important to capture. Are you really open, or am I just not? Okay, you're apparently open line. Likewise you. You're not. Ground and ground. Skip, skip. And we're back down to the bottom. Skip. Yeah, I made sure I skipped that time. Yeah, I think as I develop the confidence in the setup, I can pretty much whip through this pretty quick. I could probably do a board easily in a day or less. Okay, send up. Hey Jim, Nikita. Yeah, we just call them JTags out of bad habits. But it's so good to have bad habits. Let's come up to the key vault connector. Get my foot alignment right. Yeah. I think I might. It's tempting to make it that'll automatically skip over ones with data in it. I might consider that. I might make it just a optional flag that you can choose to do the skip or to still sequentially go through. Okay, that's done. Yeah, Mike, yeah. Well, I don't tag the names. I don't at least not publicly. What I will have though is, I mean, I'll know personally who they are just through the database on my end. But yeah, I'm not inclined to put public names out there. I think it might give me a little bit too much grief. I'm not sure. I haven't decided yet. I could be wrong. Kind of wonder whether I should do this barefoot. Barefoot and in the kitchen. I was going to say, I think they should be open line, those ones. And likewise, these ones. Okay, that's that connector done. Mark, I've got a 3 switch. I'll bring it up on the system for you to have a look at. let's see. Three-way USB foot switch. Yeah, it's one of these things. And they're a little bit awkward to use because there's no real feedback other than bottoming it out. Like you stomp until you can't stomp any further. There's no tactile response because all they are, when you pull them apart, they've just got optical interrupters. So you got your emitter and your receiver, and what happens is that foot switch that you can see, it just has a piece of plastic that comes down and shutters across the emitter, and then that's it. It sends off the signal. Now the nice thing is you can program these ones to tell what key to simulate. So on the very right I've got the enter key, and on the first two I've got shift tab for going back and tab for going forward. So most of the time I'm pressing the right one, which is the enter, which means submit in this case. We'll do U3210. It's an important chip. If I actually find U3210 instead of pretending I know where it is. And I was on the wrong one. I was actually meaning U1900. Yep, lost the pedal. I do have to give it a little bit of time to stabilize when I'm doing this. Might be something else for me to do in the software, make it so that it can sort of wait 10 samples or something like that and then commit it. Yeah, I think that's everything on that one. Yep. Hey, Michael Kiram. Yeah, Walter, house is doing well. Yeah, I'll show you that now too. Let's see, new window. Just give me a tick with this. Yeah, you're gonna need a bit of... Yeah, there you go. So we've got the stud frame up today. So it's all this here, and then the side here where the door is going to be. This is all going to be ship planked on the outside, insulated, plaster on the inside. And we're going to use this area in the foreseeable future to keep the wildling cats safe. So it's going to be like their sleeping, hiding area where they can come along and get some food, get some medical attention, and be safe. Once we have this built, we will then actually enclose them into the property permanently, or as best we can. And after that, yeah, that'll be the remain of their freedom gone. Hey, you new Mara. What's our... Actually, we'll do the ISL because that's the other big one that everybody needs to measure and get right. So How long have I lived in that house now? Probably too long. Probably 18 years now. Yeah, it's pretty scary, really. It really is. I'm terrified about facing that reality that it's been that long. And we've only just... Okay, I've lost my keyboard, have I? Didn't have my focus. Yeah, we've only just bought it. There we go. That's more like it. 3. Interestingly, at different positions on the board will have slightly different diode mode value, and that's because of just the natural resistance in the tracks, causing a slightly different value. Okay, charger phase. What are you? You're this one here. All right, another one done. Don't think we'll be having any kitty viewings, no. Yeah, anymore. I think we had originally started planning to buy it from around about 8 years ago, maybe a bit more. But there'd been a lot of changes, and we were heading towards buying it, and then things got turned around, and then the offer was up again, so we took it, and things got turned around. Yeah, we had a few ups and downs there. It was quite stressful, but we finally got there, and we had enough money right up front to make it happen this time around. So, and it's really worked out very well for everybody involved. Everybody is happy now with where they've ended up. So, it was a good thing that we kept pushing, and now, in hindsight, all of the difficulties are worth it. Okay, what's our next chip to attack? I suppose we'll do the... So these ones are good to do because they are the sort that contain... they are the sort of thing that you do end up testing. So that's the BIOS, in case you're wondering what I'm poking at. So this... Interesting that just noticed that the board view does not actually correctly... it doesn't even have that test pad there. Interesting. That will be what I'm heading for in my future developments. Once this development is settled down and I'm happy with it, then my next thing is to start working on the editing facilities of FlexBoardView. That is to say, so you will actually be able to amend the board views themselves, shift parts, add parts, things like that. So kind of like heading towards a CAD solution. But not fully CAD, as in not like if you were trying to draw up a board or anything like that. Mark, do you think you could do an interface Windows? I will talk to you about that in a bit, Mark, when I'm finished. Jim's saying no whacking furries. Yeah, nobody really drinks Fosters around here. It's one of those. It's not a fake beer. It's not the worst. I think from memory, I think it was better than VB. But then again, there's not much that's worse than VB. Let's do this one here. Looks like Englishman in Brazil knows all about it. Have you been subjected to it, Englishman? Seems like you have. Yeah, I'm really thinking I need to have a flippin'... oh gee, this is... no wonder it's going all wonky here. Odds and evens. I'm going to start again because I think I might have botched that. Okay, apparently not. Yeah, I've just got to learn to switch over to odds and evens mode when it comes to these sort of things. Okay, skip to the loo, my darling. Sorry. None of that talk around here. Skip. That should be a skip, yep. Okay, skip. And we're back down to... I'm just going to tilt this a bit because it's a bit easier for me. I think it's, yep, 2 pins up. Interesting, it's... Okay, it's open because we don't have the flex attached. Not much I can do about that, unfortunately. God damn it. Slipping on my pins here. Okay, skip. And another open one. Crap. It's a little bit trickier on this one. Finally done. That took longer than I wanted. You can actually do it the other way around, but you don't get as much dynamic range. So when you go with the red probe on the ground with diode mode, you get a greater dynamic range. It's an easier value to work with, the 0 to Yeah, usually around about 1 volt, but there are occasions where it gets above that. The upper voltage level on the diode mode is actually something that's more constrained by the meter itself. Funnily enough, there are some meters like my old ProTech 608, it could have up to 25 volts in the diode mode, which was actually a bad thing for testing these sort of circuits, because it means that it could just keep ramping the voltage up to got through to the current level it wanted, which will be like 1 or 2 milliamps depending on the configuration. And that could, was good enough to fry some circuits. So it's probably a good thing that I'm sticking with this one that only goes up to about 3 volts. It's amazing how many damn networks there are on everything. You'd think, oh yeah, I've covered them all, but then you find, nope, I haven't. I heard something then. Ah, that is... Okay, yeah, here we go. We've got a couple that are unusually high. Let me actually double check that one. Okay, so that was definitely unusually high. I'm going to get 2 back and just hold on there a little more. That's more like it. There we go. I sort of went a bit fast and I didn't give it time for... Yeah, there can be capacitance on the line that's got charged, which influences what you read on that. So yeah, I probably should be slowing it down, not going quite as fast. Anyway, another bunch captured. Okay, you've had almost the same values. Alright, it depends on what you're measuring. So if it's a strictly resistive network, then yes, you will get that. It will be the same either way. But on boards like this, generally speaking, there's enough things like protection diodes and semiconductor, all other sort of diode influences going on, that it is generally easier to do it with the ground on the bottom, and you will get different values whether you go positive on ground or negative on ground. Mike, is the server holding the submitted data on AWS location server? What's AWS? Amazon? Is that it? I don't know what AWS is. People making me think. Thinking is intolerable. It is. No, it's not an Amazon server. Sorry, no. No, I have a smaller one that I use. I've been using this group for a long time now. A long time. Prior to them, I went through quite a few different providers, but I'm very happy with where I've settled with these people. Sometimes I do feel like they're milking me a little bit, but no, well, they still offer good service, and they're pretty quick on any faults. I just noticed there's a bit of a fast repeat going on there. Okay. Alright, we'll do the 342 as well. Mostly because these are, like I said, important. They're important parts, and you often do come to them for a reference on what's happening. So having dependable diode values can be useful. Whether I'm dependable, that's subjective. There we go. Yeah, the service is good. I can contact them pretty much at any time. I've never had any dramas with submitting tickets or anything like that. So certainly I can't complain. Not very often we have issues on this connector, but it's good to have. Stomping in the air, Paul. These are, some of these are coming up over limit because of the fact that, ach nee man, what did I just stomp on? Okay. So, what are you guys? 28, 28, ground. Okay, that one there. Right. So backtrack. Alright, let's have a look and see what we've captured so far. So, with the 3437, we've already captured 161 nets. Just in what we were doing there. It's 161 different networks. So that's pretty good going. It'd be pretty hard to get that sort of level number of entries that quickly if you're doing it by pen, paper, or call-out system. I mean, that's fine if that's all you got, but I gotta say, it is kind of nice having the multimeter and the foot pedals integrated in. Yeah, really liking that. Let's load up the 165 and make sure it has kept its information that we want. Let's say board preferences, and yeah, 223. So we're still about 60 nets down compared to what we have on the 165, but yeah, shouldn't be any real problem. Alright then, well I think that's it for tonight. I'm going to go and do some more coding. There are a few more things I want to tweak around with, but it's getting pretty close. It's getting pretty close to when I think we can call this a reasonable beta release. And once we're sort of happy with the beta release, we will consider a full release, and at that point we can probably look at including important people like Mr. Rossman and get him to let the world know that this exists now. I'm just going to put in the CPU stuff because I thought, well, otherwise I'm going to forget. Okay. This is the other thing. You can actually, do the individual pin entries here, so that's what we are going to. So you don't have to do it through the board mode. It's just the individual pin entries. Well, whoops, better do it that side because that is what I'm going to record. And I'm in resistance mode. Resistance. Obviously, there's no meter capture on this particular section. 175. Seriously? That seems awfully high. $174. Yeah, okay. Yeah, fair enough. 175 ohms. And this is a 1.4 gigahertz i5. We do the same for phase 1. Oh yeah, Lewis is a fantastic user. That man has the ability to break, well, I'm sure he could break an infinite loop somehow. That's how good he is. Alrighty. I'm out of here. Thank you very much for sticking around. I know it wasn't a repair situation, but I just wanted to demonstrate the combination of the footswitch and the multimeter. Now, if you do want to set up your own multimeter and footswitch combination, just send me an email. Mark just has. It's easiest if it's in Linux, but I'll see if I can construct something for Windows as well. The main thing is that you need to get the multimeter software to just simply dump the value that you're measuring to a text file. It's just like, open up the text file, put that one little line in there, like 0.7 volts DC, and that's it. And then what will happen is FlexBoardView comes along, it picks it up, reads it, deletes it, and once it's deleted, then your multimeter software can then write a new one. And that way you shouldn't thrash too much, and also prevents the situation where you can have contingency issues. Oh, that's the other thing. When you generate the data file, you generate it as a temporary file, and then you move it to the actual file name that FlexBoardView is looking. And that is because that transition to a new file name is what is known as an atomic operation. So there is no point where that file name exists but your data doesn't exist. So we like to try and stick with things that are atomic in that way. Alright, I'm out of here. You'll take care. I'll see you next time.